Hi, it's Diana, and we are to talk about the analysis of jalapeno bagel. Jalapeno bagels, more than one bagel. And since I stumbled on the title, let's talk about the title. We've talked about titles before when we looked at Best Friends for Francis, and we can do that again. So when we read the title, Jalapeno Bagel, what do we think? I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty sure a bagel is going to show up somewhere in this story. And not only that, I'm pretty sure it's going to have an important role. So is that true if we think back to the story? Yeah, it is true. Absolutely, bagels show up, and it does become what Pablo chooses to represent himself and his culture. I gotta put an S on that one too. Cultures, because he's a common name. Okay, so I'm gonna put out 4 words, and what comes to mind? Well, being me and this story, but also food. Food comes to mind. So I have word 1, food. Word 2, it might be Pablo. We have a specific, but we're just going to be general. Okay, so it might be Pablo, the character. And I'm not going to just say Pablo, I'm going to say identity. So it's Pablo is the character, but the question is, who are you? Who are you within this international day, within culture? Who are you? So we have food and we have Pablo, identity. What else? Oh, I just said it. I just said another word, and that's culture. And it's all starting to come together with these words: food, identity, Pablo, culture, and the last one for me is family. I have this assignment, and I'm thinking about it. Help me think about it, to his parents. And how do all these come together? I'm so leaning toward identity right now, and that is not what I thought it was. So that's interesting. I am like, okay, so I just recently read to refresh. Sometimes I have to refresh. Like, I know what something is, I know the definition, but I'm going to read it again because maybe I can't describe it, or I've gotten so used to living with that word that I'm like, yeah, I know what that is, but do I? And so I'll refresh. So recently, like a couple of hours ago, I refreshed myself the word theme. So one of the things in the definition that I read was that, it wasn't just a definition, it was more of an explanation, is that authors don't often say, this is my theme. They take the reader on a journey of discovery, So theme is, that's just a way to find the theme. And the theme itself is a main idea. Like, what we did talk about theme, because I remember it. It was very elaborate and technical. Yeah, we don't want to get that technical, but so theme is what big idea am I following here? And not only is it an idea that's in the story, but it's an idea in the world. So what journey of discovery, because I just put out 4 words, what journey of discovery are we taking? What does that journey look like? And what does Wing use to take us on that journey? What are we discovering? I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I think we're discovering Pablo's identity. And what is interesting with Pablo, which I think is the same thing that's interesting with Mickey, is Pablo gets to decide. This is so exciting. I'm on a journey of discovery, which is what identity is. It's let me look around and let me decide. Okay, so what elements I am like totally switching gears from where I thought I was going and going in a different direction. We have elements of how Pablo gets to define himself. And those are the other words: family, food, and culture. So because the pictures in this are really important, I think. And there's an illustrator, Robert Casilla. I'm so hoping I'm pronouncing it right. But let's look at just a couple of pictures where we see, at the beginning, we see the family, and there's all three of them. I'm just going to really quickly point out that they're forming a triangle. If you drew a line from one to the other and back, you get a triangle. That's a really good thing in art. But that's okay. So there they are. That's when that's when Pablo announces his assignment. Where else do they come together? And so in the story, Pablo and his mom work on the Mexican baked goods together. And then his father says, hey, come here and help me. And he and his father work on the Jewish baked goods together. So there's grouping. They split up the family. It's not like you can't do this or you can't do that. It's just it just seems natural the way it's presented. So, but we see the family come together again when they're working on the bagels. And look, they're in a triangle again. 1, 2, 3. They're together at the beginning when the question is, I need to represent myself. How am I going to do that? And they're together again when they're making the bagels. Let me see what it looks like when he says, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the bagels. Yeah, at the end. Yes, absolutely. There they are together again. 1, 2, 3. And he says, bagels are just like me. They're a part of both of you together. So we see him identifying himself through family. I'm a part of both of y'all. Through food, the bagel, this jalapeno bagel represents me too. And through culture. I'm not one culture or the other. I'm a mixing of two. Now, here's an interesting thing, because identity isn't just I'm a part of this group. It's also I'm an individual. So how does he establish his individuality? How does Wing show us that Pablo is an individual? Well, I mentioned one of them. One is that his mother and father, but it's his mother who articulates that you're going to decide for yourself. You're going to pick the best representation of your culture and you by yourself. That's one way. Through the family and the support that he has, he gets to choose his own identity. Another thing is that makes him an individual is on quite the page. Well, every baked goods he mentions, he talks about how he likes them and how they're appealing. He says something positive about all of them until he gets to the bagels. And his dad, once a bagel is finished, he eats it right here with cream cheese and lox. And you can see Pablo's face. He does not approve. So it's not the bagel he doesn't like, it's the lox. He says, I would much rather jam. And there we have a bit of individuality. Lox, fine for you, but for me, jam. And when he takes the bagels with him to school, he includes, let's see, what does he say? Oh, and suddenly I knew exactly what I'm going to bring. Jalapeno bagels, I tell my parents, and I'll spread them with cream cheese and jam. So he is bringing part of his mother's culture, part of his dad's culture, and his own individuality. It's not just about culture, it's about me and how I fit and how I represent myself within this culture. So that is super cool, because I just went on a journey of discovery that Natasha Wing and Robert Casilla took me on, to a realization that this story is, one, more complex than I thought. And I love complexity in stories. One thing I love about story is I can be going one way and thinking this, okay, I see this happening, this is what this is about, this is the theme, and then suddenly, oh my goodness, there's another level. There's another level. And sometimes it's not me who sees the level, it's somebody else. Like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So that makes me happy too. Another bing, 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 bing going on with that. I did write down a question. I didn't write down a theme statement, but I did write down an analysis. And the question might be, how does Natasha Wing, use jalapeno bagels to illustrate Pablo's, it could be Pablo's culture. How does she, then that's where I thought we were going. It could also be, the question could be, how does Natasha Wing use jalapeno bagels to establish Pablo's individuality within his culture? There's another question, another good question. And then I thought of the possibility, it's not mentioned here, but Pablo has a third culture, and that is U.S. culture. And maybe the jam is his U.S. culture, and he's bringing it in there, and that's how he's an individual with his mom and dad, because he's not just a combination of them. He's a combination of them and his own experience. Again, another thing with individuality. This story is so rich. I love that. So the sentence I came up with, the analysis sentence is, Wing shows Pablo defining himself within his family and culture with his choice of jalapeno bagels served with his own preference of jam. Okay, so that was a lot of great analysis, and what was super fantastic to me is that a lot of that happened as I was talking. Like, I had realizations as I was talking, and so super cool. I love realizing things like that. The stories are richer than I think they are, and finding different meaning. So thanks for joining me in this journey of discovery through bagels, and we're going to be on to another book, which at this point I think I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not quite sure. So another journey of discovery. Bye. Oh.